On day 1, I spawned into the beautiful flower forest as an elemental monkey. This is awesome! I'm out here living my best monkey life. But some people didn't want me to live my best monkey life. Or rather, some skeletons. I saw one of them coming towards me through the flowers.
Trespasser, stop in the name of the law. You shouldn't be here.
But I just spawned here. It isn't my fault. How about you just point the way out and I'll leave?
It doesn't work like that. There are spies everywhere, and if I have a reason to believe you're one of them, I'm taking you in for interrogation.
I really didn't want to be interrogated, so in sheer panic, I just turned and ran as fast as I could until I couldn't even see the scary skeleton behind me. I don't know why they're picking on me. I'm just a baby elemental monkey with 10 hearts. It's not like I could do any real damage to them. But my thoughts were interrupted when suddenly another skeleton with a bow popped out in front of me.
Stop right there, criminal! You make any sudden movements and you'll taste the steel of my arrowheads.
Okay, what do you want me to do? I'll follow your commands if you don't hurt me.
Come with me then, and no funny stuff. My arrow finger is extremely itchy.
And so, I followed the skeleton through the flower forest, worrying about my future. On day 2, the skeleton with the bow led me towards a dark, dreary base in the middle of the flower forest. It didn't look like anything good went on in there. Maybe we can just talk this out, Mr. Skeleton?
You've already tried to run, criminal. That's why we're keeping you on a short leash. We'll talk, sure, but only when we have you behind bars. Now move it.
I was sent into the deep dark depths of the base and locked away in a large and sinister holding cell. But I wasn't the only one in there. There was also a wandering trader.
A fellow businessman, unfairly imprisoned for merely trying to make a living in this hard, cold world. It isn't easy being a wandering trader in this world, is it, my boy?
Oh, I think you're a little confused. I'm not a wandering trader. I'm an elemental monkey who just got trapped after I spawned. My name's Zozo.
Oh, Zozo, I see. Well, either way, we're in this together, old chap. Perhaps we could start a business. $1 million idea. We'll be rich, I tell you. Rich!
I don't know if we'll ever make any money if we're still trapped in here. We need to figure out a way to escape. I wonder if I have any elemental monkey powers. I concentrated hard, and suddenly, I fired an ice blast. Okay, this has potential. I blasted ice against the wall until a section of it was frozen, and then smashed through it, freeing myself and the wandering trader.
Brilliant work, my friend. I'd go with you, but I need to go speak with my shareholders. May we meet again, Zozo?
Good luck with all your, business stuff, trader. I ran off, feeling pretty sick of the flower forest. Hopefully, there are some chiller folks elsewhere. On day 3, I went to the frozen peaks, knowing I'd probably be safe from the skeletons there. I'm freezing out here, so imagine how cold a skeleton would be. They don't even have any skin. But I wasn't just cold, I was also hungry. Because it was so cold out there, I wouldn't be able to find any yummy bananas. Instead, I was able to find some yummy winter-kissed carrots. Snow and carrots. Such a classic combination. Who doesn't enjoy eating that? Having had my fill of the carrots, I carried on exploring the frozen peaks, hoping that I could find something that would help warm me up. But instead of finding a nice warm coat or a crackling fire, I instead found a huge creature, the towering High Reaver. Oh no, are you going to attack me too?
Why would I attack you, monkey? Are you going to attack me?
No?
Then we have nothing to worry about. I am the mighty High Reaver, and these are my frozen peaks.
Oh, that's great. Do you know where I can find somewhere warm? I'm kind of freezing out here.
Yes, I believe I could take you somewhere nice and warm, but you'll need to do me some favors in exchange. Follow me, Zozo.
It was only as I followed him away that I started to wonder if I ever told him my name. From day 4 to day 5, the High Reaver took me to his base up in the frozen peaks, which was warmed by a huge roaring fireplace.
My apologies for the mess. If I knew I'd be entertaining guests, I would have cleaned up a little.
Please, no need to apologize. This place is amazing. How did you build something like this? It's huge.
It wasn't always me. Once I had workers, so many of them, and they loved working for me. I kept them all warm and happy and safe in here, until one day...
One day? What happened?
Well, some terrible, terrible people banded together and attacked my base. All my workers were either destroyed or chased away, and I was left all alone.
Oh no, that's horrible.
And that's not even the worst part. The ones who did this are still out there, walking free after they destroyed my life.
I can't let something like that stand. I'll help you get revenge on all the people who did this to you, High Reaver.
That's very kind of you, Zozo. In exchange, I will bestow upon you power and tools.
Suddenly, the High Reaver transferred some of his power to me. It was amazing. I got bigger, stronger. I now had 20 hearts in total, and a new power, the Claw Attack. After that, the High Reaver gave me a stone sword and a stone pickaxe. Thank you, High Reaver. I'm gonna go build my base somewhere a little warmer, but then I'll begin my quest for you. I went to the glowing ancient forest, where I felt more confident in my elemental powers, and started mining stone and collecting wood from trees. It didn't take me long to start building a basic base where I could at least sleep at night. After it was done, I stood back and took it all in, finally appreciating that I could have a place of my own. But my appreciation was interrupted by one of the skeletons from earlier suddenly emerging, his bow at the ready.
There you are. I knew you couldn't be trusted. I'm not giving you a second chance this time.
But before he could shoot me, I blasted him with an ice blast and then ran in, finishing him off with my claws. Nobody is pushing this elemental monkey around anymore. From day 6 to day 8, I was hanging around at my base for a while, psyching myself up for my next meeting with the High Reaver. I was excited to go on the mission, but I'd only ever fought a skeleton before, so I didn't know if I was ready. Am I gonna be strong enough to take on the people who kidnapped or destroyed all of the High Reaver's beloved workers? While I was thinking it over, I saw a familiar face, the wandering trader, walking through the glowing ancient forest. I immediately ran over to see how he was doing.
Zozo, my boy, such a delight to see you in such troubling times. I hope all of your own ventures and enterprises are going well. Business marches on.
I told you before, trader, I'm not a business guy, but what do you mean troubling times?
Oh, you see, I travel all the way across the Overworld, trading this and that, doing business and such. But lately, well, something is wrong. Missing people, destroyed villages. It's like there's a plague across the land.
There's no way this is a coincidence. It must be the same people the High Reaver told me about. I need to look into this further. I left at once, and later that day, I arrived at the High Reaver's base and told him I was ready to take on my first mission.
It's good to see that you're eager, Zozo. You'll be doing me and the world a great service. First, you must go further into the frozen peaks and annihilate the Onion Queen. I still remember all the terrible things she did. Destroy her, and we will go from there.
Yes, High Reaver, I'll do it at once. From day 9 to day 10, I made my way to the frozen peaks, climbing higher and higher as I went to take on the Onion Queen, my first big enemy. I wasn't quite sure what horrible things she'd done. The High Reaver hadn't gone into much detail about it, but maybe that was because her crimes were too terrible to even talk about. Soon after, we met face to face.
Halt! Who dares approach her regal onionness?
The Onion Queen, we meet at last.
Let me guess, a lackey for the High Reaver. Of course, how predictable.
Yeah, I'm here to take you down.
You'd be wise to reconsider your next actions. There are more layers than you could possibly understand. Otherwise, this will all end in tears.
Let's see, shall we? I leapt into the battle, using my elemental monkey ice blast and claw attacks, along with my stone sword. But I couldn't cut through all the Onion Queen's protective layers. I wasn't tough enough yet. All I could do was flee. Suddenly, someone else came speeding in. He was some kind of sorcerer who could wield powerful rock attacks. I watched in awe as he was able to defeat the Onion Queen.
I'm glad I found you, elemental monkey.
Hey, I'm Zozo. Who are you?
I am the last of the noble geomancers, masters of the elements of Earth. Time is short. We must get you to safety and train you to harness all the elements.
Hold on, I'm not so sure about this. I think I should go and speak to the High Reaver first.
Your path is your own, Zozo. Seek me out if you find yourself lost.
From day 11 to day 12, I made my way back to the High Reaver's base. Things were just getting stranger and stranger. I wasn't sure who to side with. The High Reaver seemed like he was just a guy in need of help. But what had that old geomancer wanted to train me for?
You've done well, Zozo. With the Onion Queen no longer stinking up the place, our plans can move forward. I need you to complete another task for me.
The High Reaver sent me off to a deep cave nearby to mine for some useful resources that I could craft iron armor with. After all, I might need the added protection on my quest. There wasn't much in the way of enemies down there, but I came across some iron ore and was able to use a furnace to make iron ingots. With these ingots, I made a few iron armor pieces, as well as an iron sword and an iron pickaxe. But then, just as I was leaving the cave and venturing off, I was ambushed by some icy creepers. I tried using my ice blast on them, but quickly realized they could withstand the freezing cold. So instead, I had to resort to using my sword to shatter each of them before heading off to my next objective from the High Reaver. From day 13 to day 15, I traveled to the ancient glowing forest in search of another of the High Reaver's enemies. He'd told me to seek out an Alpha's hyena, but wouldn't really explain why he needed me to take care of it. I assumed, like I had done with the Onion Queen, that this hyena had wronged the High Reaver in some way, perhaps being responsible for him losing all of his workers. But the High Reaver seemed oddly evasive about the specific details. When I spotted the Alpha hyena, I'd been expecting to come across a wild, ferocious beast. But instead, it was just an ordinary animal taking care of its pack. This didn't make any sense. Why would the High Reaver want me to destroy innocent animals? The Alpha hyena wasn't hurting anyone. In fact, it was just gathering food and providing for its hyena pups, taking care of its family. I couldn't go through with it. I had to get a straight answer. So instead of attacking the Alpha hyena, minding its own business, I decided I'd return to the High Reaver to get my answers. From day 16 to day 19, I marched back to the High Reaver's base, full of purpose and determined to get an honest answer out of him.
That was fast. Did you take care of the Alpha hyena?
No, I came back for the truth. What really happened to your workers? And why are you sending me out to defeat all of these mobs? What's really going on here?
Zozo, I have already told you all you need to know. I suggest you go and cool off somewhere, little elemental monkey.
Unsatisfied with that response, I headed back to my base deep within the ancient glowing forest. When I got there, my pal, the wandering trader, was there waiting for me.
Oh, thank goodness, Zozo, you're here. I need your help.
Why? What's going on?
It's the High Reaver. He was the one behind the plague across the land. Someone must have angered him. He's attacking a nearby village as we speak. It's just terrible for business.
The High Reaver had really been evil this whole time. He tricked me into doing his dirty work. Full of rage, I rushed to try and stop him, and sure enough, came across him ransacking some of the ancient glowing forest.
We could have worked together, Zozo. I would have trained you. A powerful elemental monkey with control over all the natural elements could have been perfect for reshaping the land in my image. But if you won't follow me, then I'll just have to tear everything down and rebuild from scratch.
I leapt in to try and fight the High Reaver, but he was much stronger than I could have anticipated. In my anger, I lost my concentration. He hit me with a powerful energy blast that sent me flying, and I hit my head so hard that I fell unconscious. From day 20 to day 22, I finally came back around. By the time I woke up, the High Reaver was gone, and the area within the ancient glowing forest had been destroyed. I swore I'd stop the High Reaver somehow. Nobody was ever going to trick this elemental monkey again.
Excuse me, I saw you trying to fight off that brute, the High Reaver. You made a valiant effort. Allow me to introduce myself. I am the Mandragora Prince, and I believe I was who the High Reaver was after. That's why he attacked this place.
Oh, how come?
Well, you see, he's on a rampage, trying to remove anyone that might be a threat to his power. The Onion Queen is already gone, although she really was the worst. But now, I fear I may be next.
Okay, Prince, you better follow me. I'll give you a place to stay for now, hopefully where the Reaver won't find you. We made our way back to my base, and I went out to chop down some trees, gathering wood to make wooden panels so I could build the Mandragora Prince his own room. It helped to take my mind off of things for a little while. From day 23 to day 26, I decided to retrace my steps back to the flower forest to see if I could uncover any more information about the High Reaver or what I could do as an elemental monkey in order to stop him. But it was while I was there, I once again encountered a familiar face.
Get away! I said get away! You can't attack me! Think of all my business ventures! My portfolio would be ruined if I'm destroyed by… ew, mushrooms!
It was the wandering trader. He was under attack, with some nearby fungus throwers hurling poisonous spores at him. The wandering trader ran for it, and I rushed in and tore one of the fungus throwers up with my claw attack, freezing the other with an ice blast. When the coast was clear, the traitor re-emerged.
Zozo, many thanks again. If you keep saving me like this, I might have to put you on retainer.
Well, that's your business, I guess. From day 27 to day 31, while searching for answers around the flower forest, I came across a flock of lost sheep. They looked to me like they'd previously been looked after and cared for, but were now wandering the wild. Of course, they must have lived at one of the villages that the High Reaver destroyed. So I decided I would adopt them and bring them back to my base. I headed back home with the sheep in tow and got to work building a pen for them. I crafted some wooden fencing and arranged it so there'd be plenty of space for the sheep to roam about. They'd be much safer than roaming about unprotected in the wild. Then, the Mandragora Prince approached.
Zozo, while you've been gone, I've been working on a game room for us. Just a little token of my appreciation for you letting me stay here.
Wow, your princeliness. This looks great. You don't need to thank me though. I'm happy to help. Anything that'll make it easier to take down the High Reaver. Speaking of the High Reaver, he was making upgrades and allies of his own up at his base in the Frozen Peaks.
Ah, Vex, my diabolical old friend. You've returned to serve me once again.
Yes, High Reaver. What would you ask of me?
My plans have to accelerate. I thought I could trick that elemental monkey to my side. But now, we must make sure Zozo never reaches his full potential.
From day 32 to day 35, I decided I'd try a new approach, making some more allies of my own. After all, I had already clashed with the High Reaver once in a one-on-one, and it hadn't ended well for me. And before, when I'd been trying to evade the skeletons, I hadn't really listened to their side of things, and the High Reaver had used that to make me think they were the bad guys. That's why I returned to their base in the Flower Forest, but I wasn't given a warm welcome.
Hold it right there, it's you again. You're with the High Reaver. We knew you couldn't be trusted.
Without warning, the skeletons attacked. I had to take cover using my monkey agility to dodge their arrows. I needed to convince them that I didn't mean any harm. No, wait, I'm not with him. I was tricked, but I came back here to make amends. It must have worked because they stopped firing, but kept their bows trained on me.
You better come with us. The shepherd will want to speak with you.
They took me to their leader, a wise old shepherd. Say, did you lose some sheep lately?
My name is more of a metaphor. These skeletons are my flock. You see, Zozo, we were once the workers for a beastly tyrant. He commanded us to build a kingdom for him, and we had no choice but to obey. But he planned on working us to death, so we turned our backs on him before it was too late. In retaliation, he put a curse on those of us that passed, so that their bones may never rest.
He really is the worst, but I intend to stop him.
If what you say is true, then I ask you to prove your fealty. Then I will be able to share more with you.
From day 36 to day 39, after making a rocky start with the skeletons and the shepherd, I ventured off to mine for some more iron ore. I needed to complete my set of iron armor. It looked like my luck was beginning to turn around because the iron wasn't all I managed to find. Buried deep in the cave were diamonds. Not enough to use just yet, but definitely worth hanging on to. By the time I returned back to the base, there was someone waiting for me that I'd never seen before. He told me that his name was Mason, and he'd been sent as a messenger by the shepherd.
He needs your help, Zozo. The time has come to prove your fealty. If you can act fast, then the shepherd and his skeletons will be at your side.
Before I left to aid the skeletons, I turned iron ore into iron ingots and forged myself a full set of iron armor. Better to be safe than sorry. From day 40 to day 43, I rushed to the location Mason had given me, deep in the heart of the ancient glowing forest. When I arrived, I finally saw the source of all the commotion. Some skeletons were under attack by Vex, the High Reaver's right-hand henchman.
Zozo, we've been trying to fend him off, but we need you.
I don't know if I can. This guy looks tough.
Please, we're counting on your help.
It was me versus Vex, one-on-one. I leapt into the fight and crossed swords with Vex, who seemed to be weirdly happy to see me.
There's the troublesome little elemental monkey I've heard so much about. The High Reaver will reward me handsomely when I bring you back to him in pieces.
We battled hard. I tried using my elemental powers like the Ice Blast. It had no effect. Vex shrugged it off like it was nothing.
Nice try. I don't really feel the cold.
I went in for a claw attack, but it barely left a scratch. It was becoming clear I wasn't going to win this fight, and if I was defeated or captured, I had no hope of ever stopping the High Reaver. So I decided to retreat, ashamed at my weakness. From day 44 to day 49, I headed back to my base, feeling a little crushed that I hadn't been able to defeat Vex or help the skeletons. It was made even worse by the fact that now the shepherd probably wouldn't want to help me anymore in my fight against the High Reaver. At least, that's what I thought at first, only to see him waiting for me when I arrived back at my base.
I owe you an apology, Zozo. I was wrong to bring you into such an intense battle so early, without all the skills and tools you'd need. But you showed a great deal of restraint out there, and initiative too. A fool would have kept fighting. It takes one wiser to know when it's time to retreat and live to fight another day.
Thanks, although retreating won't do much good against the High Reaver.
Well, I might have just the thing for that. As a show of goodwill, I will help you construct something that should take care of the High Reaver once and for all. The Destroyer. It is a powerful weapon, once capable of undoing even the High Reaver. But there is one condition. We must work together to build it.
Under the shepherd's directions, we made a start, making what we needed to create the Destroyer. It was going to be a special build, and the shepherd didn't have all the directions on hand. So after we had done all we could to get started, he pointed me in the right direction to learn more about how to complete the weapon. From day 50 to day 53, I left for the precarious frozen peaks, making sure I was careful to avoid the High Reaver's territory. If I got too close, no doubt he'd launch another attack on me. I was searching the dangerous peaks for a hidden cave. The shepherd said there was a secluded shrine somewhere up there, which contained a book that could tell me more about the Destroyer. After a whole lot of searching, I found what I was looking for. The book was old and dusty, but it told me everything I needed to know. Long ago, a group of mystics had divided the land into different regions, and each of them had taken control of an individual region. However, they learned that one among them was building an empire on the backs of workers, and he was planning to take control of the entire overworld. He was none other than the High Reaver. When the other mystics learned about this, they crafted a magical weapon called the Destroyer. However, it backfired. They were able to weaken the High Reaver and halt his progress, but in doing so, they destroyed their primary weapon against him. But what I was still wondering was, where did I fit into all of this? What was so important about me being an elemental monkey? Those questions would have to wait. I was getting uneasy being in the frozen peaks for too long, so I made my way back to my base. From day 54 to day 57, I was on my way back to my base when I crossed paths with the last person I wanted to see, Vex! He was on his way back to the High Reaver's base after the fight with all the skeletons, and he instantly leapt at me to attack.
Well, well, well. What do we have here? Come to turn yourself in, little monkey? You're making my job too easy. All I have to do is beat you and walk a few more feet to the High Reaver's stronghold to collect my kudos.
Back off, Vex. I'm not in the mood for you. We crossed swords once again, and I knew that the horrible henchman was trying to irk me and get under my skin. But as much as I wanted to teach him a lesson once and for all, I had to force myself to remember that I wasn't tough enough to beat him. I could hear the shepherd's wise words too. A fool keeps fighting, but a wiser person knows when it's time to retreat. So I fled and lived to fight another day. Meanwhile, the High Reaver had been watching from afar and wasn't too pleased that I had gotten away.
Vex, you buffoon! We need that elemental monkey gone for good. Only his energy can power the Destroyer. He has the potential to harness all the elements, and that makes him the perfect one to wield such a powerful weapon. Do better!
From day 58 to day 62, I was finally able to make it home safely and was greeted warmly by the Mandragora Prince back at my base.
I've really been taking to working on these improvements, Zozo. Come have a look. We have plenty of storage space now if you need a place to stash your weapons and armor.
Sure enough, the prince had whipped up an impressive armory for me, which reminded me my iron armor and iron sword were looking pretty worse for wear. But I still had those diamonds on me, so I headed back to the caves to do some more mining and search for more. After a while spent looking, I hit the motherlode. There were tons of diamonds glimmering in the cave walls, and I quickly pickled them free. Bringing them back to my base, I crafted a shiny new diamond chestplate along with a matching sword and pickaxe. These would be perfect for some added defense as well as extra damage while I was fighting, and the pick would make mining a breeze. From day 63 to day 66, the Mandragora Prince suggested I should try searching for the leftover pieces of the original Destroyer to save building it from scratch.
I know exactly the place you could start looking, and with your diamond pickaxe, you should be able to get there with ease.
Following his directions took me to the magma waste, a deadly area filled with dangerous pools of lava. I had to watch my step and make sure I didn't slip and fall to my doom. I couldn't use my ice blast to freeze a safe path. The magma was too hot. But lucky for me, my elemental monkey agility did the trick. With enough searching, I came across an old stone structure that looked like it had been there for a long time. It was too thick for even my diamond pickaxe to get through, but there was a small slot that looked like it had been made for a key. That was a nuisance. I'd have to either finish the destroyer using the book, or come back if I ever found the right key. From day 67 to day 70, the shepherd returned to my base, and I was expecting we'd soon be getting back to work on building the destroyer. But it turned out there was trouble afoot, and the shepherd needed my help to resolve it. I followed the shepherd to where the trouble was occurring, a clearing within the ancient glowing forest where a mighty hellhound was waiting. I'd never seen a beast like it. What could I possibly do against that?
Try to connect with it, Zozo. You are the elemental monkey. You are more attuned with nature than the rest of us. Use that to speak to this creature.
So I left the shepherd to do just that. Nice, hellhound. Maybe stop attacking skeletons? I get you're probably after a bone, right? Well then, heal, boy. The hellhound growled and bounced at me, and I had no choice but to fight back in self-defense. I tried my best not to cause too much harm to the creature. After all, it wasn't working for the High Reaver. It was just an animal living its life, like the alpha hyena I'd seen before. Eventually, after a lot of struggle, I managed to get the hellhound to back down. That's better. Now come and join us. I promise I mean you no harm, but a hellhound like you could help us stop the High Reaver. Oh, sorry, good doggy? That seemed to work. From day 71 to day 74, I returned to my base with the hellhound in tow. But when I arrived, we were ambushed. It was Vex. He'd been following me ever since I'd clashed with him at the Frosty Peaks.
So this is where you've been hiding, Zozo. Why don't you come quietly, or I'll burn your base to ash.
We clashed once more. My new diamond sword was definitely leaving more damage against Vex this time around, but I still wasn't strong enough to beat him.
It's too late, Zozo. We already kidnapped the Mandragora Prince. You can't help anyone.
With that, Vex rushed off. I rushed inside, but it was too late. They'd gone. I was devastated. The prince had been a helpful friend. We needed to work on improving the base, so I set about building a perimeter wall to defend against any further attacks. After all, Vex and the High Reaver now knew where we were. There was no telling if they'd come back. From his base, the High Reaver was thrilled. With the Mandragora Prince captured, there were no other rulers in the area to challenge his ascent to power. His plan to take over was once again coming to fruition. From day 75 to day 78, the shepherd came by the base. Word had reached him and the skeletons that the prince was captured by the Vex. And so he showed up to help with the base, finishing up the extra defenses.
Vex and the High Reaver have a rather strange connection to each other. Vex has been the underling of the High Reaver for as long as anyone can remember. But he has his own ulterior motive too. He's playing the long game, waiting for his master to take control of everything, so that he can steal that power right from underneath the High Reaver. Vex wants to overthrow him after all the hard work is done.
Maybe I can turn them against each other somehow. Along with that useful information, the shepherd also offered me a fancy new weapon, a firework crossbow. This was sure to be a blast to use. With that in my arsenal, I headed off to track down Vex and get the Mandragora Prince back to safety. From day 79 to day 84, I followed the tracks left behind by Vex and came across him not long after. He still had the prince held hostage, and there was no time to waste. I had to save my friend and stop the High Reaver's henchmen once and for all.
So coming along to join us, Zozo. You and the prince here can be taken before the High Reaver together.
How long do you think it'll take your boss to realize you want to overthrow him?
Oh, you've done it now. I'll make sure he never finds out when I silence you, little monkey!
I opened fire with my firework crossbow, blinding Vex to start as I rushed in with my diamond sword. But he quickly regained the upper hand, and even with the help of my special attacks and new weapon, I couldn't beat him. I ran away from Vex, instead meeting up with the imprisoned Mandragora Prince.
Zozo, here, I lifted this from Vex's pocket when he captured me.
The Mandragora Prince threw something towards me, a golden apple.
You're an elemental monkey. You're meant to be one with nature. Maybe this magic apple can help you.
I rushed and grabbed the apple. Eating it, I could feel myself getting stronger. It was like my connection to nature had been strengthened more than ever before. Vex started to back away. I now had 60 hearts, and I had unlocked a new ability, a powerful whirlwind attack. I had been connected to the element of air. I left the prince and ran back to battle the Vex one last time.
No! No!
With a huge gust of wind, I was able to finally defeat Vex. He fell from the frozen peaks until we could no longer see him, leaving the Mandragora Prince and I free to return to the safety of my base. From day 85 to day 89, the prince and I returned to the base, and he imparted some new information to me.
You see, we Mandragora aren't just rival rulers to the High Reaver. He's also afraid of me because I am the last descendant of the Mystics who weakened him and caused his workers to turn against him. And he wasn't the only one to survive. This key has been in my family for many years. It will unlock the tomb of the last Mystic, and in there, you'll find what you need to finish the Destroyer.
With the magic key from the prince, I headed off to the dangerous magma waste to retrieve the components from the original Destroyer. I followed his directions and came across the tomb of the last fallen mystic, using the magic key to open it up and get inside. However, there was a security measure in place, just in case the High Reaver got his hands on the key. It was a ferocious Ravager guarding the tomb. I drew my diamond sword and hit the Ravager with a blast from my whirlwind attack, knocking it over. I leapt into battle, swinging my sword and even getting a few scratches of my claw attacks in there for good measure. The Ravager was tough, but I took it down and I was able to claim the component I needed to complete the Destroyer. From day 90 to day 94, I was making my way back across the precarious magma waste when a familiar foe approached me. It was the High Reaver.
Ah, there you are, my former friend.
We aren't friends. You tricked me, Reaver. I know all about who you are now, and the horrible things you've done.
What about you, Zozo? You did follow my orders for a time, didn't you? Without you, the Onion Queen would still be alive. So would poor Vex. It isn't too late to redeem yourself, though. Come on, join me. I have need for a new henchman, now that you've bested my last one.
I won't make that mistake twice. I clashed swords with the High Reaver. I knew I couldn't beat him on my own, but I just had to get away. If I could just make it back to my base and finish building the Destroyer, I'd finally have a chance at beating him. But the High Reaver must have known what I was trying to do and used one of his energy blasts to send me flying back into the Mystic's tomb. He caused a cave-in, sealing me inside, and dashed off with the piece I needed to finish the Destroyer. I was trapped. From day 95 to day 97, I had to mine my way out of the tomb with my diamond pickaxe. Once I was free, I rushed to warn my allies. Now that the High Reaver had the component of the original Destroyer, he'd no doubt be going after anyone who could help me finish mine from scratch. As I made my way back to the Flower Forest, I was horrified to see the skeleton's hideout in ruins. I found the shepherd amongst the wreckage, and he was on the verge of death. I tried to find something that could heal him, but it was already too late.
Zozo, you have to know your part in all of this. The Destroyer is just a way to channel power, but it's useless without an already powerful being to wield it. You are that being, an elemental monkey. In your hands, your connection to the natural world could be directed through the Destroyer. All the elements combining to defeat the High Reaver. Avenge us, Zozo. Put an end to his tyranny once and for all.
As the shepherd passed on, I swore I'd get revenge and stop the Reaver. On day 98, I rushed back to my base. If the High Reaver had attacked the shepherd to stop me from finishing the Destroyer, then maybe he'd been back to my home to wreck the progress I'd made on it so far. Sure enough, I was met with an awful sight I'd been dreading. My base was in ruins. The Destroyer I'd been working on was wrecked. Even the sheep pen had been smashed to bits. I sat in what was left of my base, feeling defeated. I'd fought so hard, and now it felt like everything I'd gone through had been for nothing. The High Reaver was so strong, he'd put me right back to square one, just like that.
Don't give up, Zozo.
Mandragora Prince, at least someone survived.
You can't let this stop you, Zozo. Don't you see? This carnage is meant to slow you down because you're closer than ever to beating the High Reaver. Destroying your base and attacking your allies is him acting out of desperation. Remember what the shepherd told you?
Live to fight another day. And I'm still alive, which means I can still stop him.
Exactly, and he's made one mistake. He's made it even easier for you to stop him.
Because he has the piece of the destroyer. With my elemental power, it can still be used to stop him. On day 99, I made my way back to the frozen peaks, this time intentionally going to the High Reaver's stronghold. He had no army serving under him. He was just one crazed monster trying to scrabble up power. All I needed to do was get that piece of the destroyer back.
Ah, Zozo, I expect you're not too happy with me.
Yeah, but you're gonna be even less happy when you see what I've got planned.
What? You think you can beat me? You've lost every battle we've ever had. You'd be a fool to keep fighting.
But a wiser person knows when it's time to retreat. We clashed once more, but this time, I wasn't trying to beat the High Reaver one-on-one. I knew I couldn't. Instead, my focus was on one thing, getting back the piece of the destroyer he'd stolen. He was too focused on trying to defeat me that the High Reaver didn't realize what my plan was, until it was too late. I grabbed the component and rushed away, making it back to my base as fast as I could before he could catch up to me. But he wouldn't have to wait too long for me to come back. At my base, with the Mandragora Prince's help, we used the ancient book I'd found and the knowledge he had from his mystic ancestors to focus all of my elemental power into the broken piece of the destroyer. It wasn't going to work the way it was intended, but we had a different plan. Boom! On day 100, our plan had worked. I'd fused with the destroyer and absorbed its power. Now my connection to nature as an elemental monkey was greater than ever. I was so attuned to the elements, I could even restore all the damage done to my base. This would finally allow me to get the upper hand against the High Reaver. Whooshing there with the speed of the wind, I arrived back at the stronghold in the frozen peaks as fast as I'd left. The High Reaver was surprised to see me back so soon, and I used that to my advantage. We fought for the last time. I had all the powers and skills I had learned along the way at my disposal. I used my mighty whirlwind attack to knock the Reaver off his feet, then swiped at him with my diamond sword and my claws. Whenever he'd attack me, I'd move out of the way with that smooth fluidity of water, then turn hard as ice when I needed to return the blows to him.
You combined with the destroyer? No, this is not how this is supposed to go.
It was a long, hard fight, but by remembering all the lessons I'd learned, I was finally able to land a final strike on the evil High Reaver!
No!
With one more hit, he fell from his stronghold at the top of the frosty peaks and plummeted to the ice below. I had done it! I defeated the High Reaver and stopped his plans to rule the Overworld.